It's the weekend and I'm doing some more practice trading. This time I'm focusing on the Flow Stack. I've got an NQ 1 minute chart with the Flow Stack loaded. I've got delta for the NQ, the ES, the YM, and the RTY. So I'm looking at the delta across 4 different instruments on each candle. And not only that, but I'm also looking for when the Heikin Ashi is in alignment between all 4 instruments. If the Heikin Ashi is bearish on all 4 instruments, it's going to paint the candles pink. And if it's bullish across all 4, the candles will get painted green. I've got the MMT 50/50 on the chart as well, and the ultimate VWAP, and my favorite moving average, the 20 SMA. These blue lines, I guess just disregard these blue lines. This is a automatic Fibonacci level indicator that I'm still playing around with. For this video, I'm just going to be focusing on how I use the Flow Stack, monitoring delta across the NQ, ES, YM, and RTY. I've also got a 60-minute NQ chart, just keeping my eye on the higher time frame. I've got the key levels on here, the pivot points, daily market profile. So we've had a very nice, robust move to the downside. We just hit the S1 pivot. Coming into the New York Open, I think I would definitely be interested in some kind of possible bounce trade long. So this is the first candle of the New York Open. We did pop up a little bit. Now the delta's kind of mixed. It's turning negative on 3 of the instruments. However, the RTY has some very strong positive delta. 260 on the RTY is pretty dang potent. So even though we dipped down a little bit, the RTY was very bullish. We're getting a little pop up here. So that candle finished with some very strong positive delta on the RTY and a little bit positive on the NQ. After the close of that candle, we did pop up 20 points. Still kind of a mixed bag here. The ES is starting to pick up. We're getting some pretty strong delta on the ES, 800. I'm going to see what the candle looks like close to the finish here, but if we can break above these recent highs here, yeah, the delta on the ES is very strong. The other deltas are close to neutral. All right, there's strong delta across the board. Pretty strong on the NQ. All right, there's an instant fill for 10 points. So very strong across the board, 200 on the NQ. ES is still very strong. Positive on the YM and the RTY. Gonna go in for another long. Look to possibly test this next key level up here. Next 50/50 level. And there's another 10 points. Still strong positive delta across most of the instruments here. We do have a lot of key levels up in this area. I imagine somewhere between 800 and 880 we'll get a little hold up. We've got VWAP, a bunch more strong positive delta. I'm gonna go for another long. We just broke above this last key level, this 50/50 line. We had strong delta across the board, just got another 10 points. Slightly negative delta on the YM and RTY here. Very strong delta on the NQ. So I do like VWAP bounce trades, but I'm just going to see what the delta's doing if we push up this far. If the delta's super strong, I'm probably not going to take a bounce trade. So now we got positive delta on 3 of the instruments. The NQ is the only one that's a little bit weak. Kind of a mixed bag. We're just not really going anywhere here. We just pulled back to this MMT 50/50 line. We're getting a bounce off of this 50/50 line, up over 10 points now. The quadruple Heikin Ashi is still bullish. It's been green this whole time. The delta that's coming in is still pretty minuscule. All right, we're coming up to VWAP. Look at that delta, way too strong for me to want to take a bounce, but we did just bounce down about 8 points off of VWAP. If anything, if we can continue with this strong positive delta and blow through VWAP, I might look for a pullback back towards VWAP if the delta starts drying up. Got this double 50/50 level right there. I do kind of like a short there just for the sake of the first touch of this level. I don't know if I want to go for a full 10-point target though. So we got filled on that I think maybe 7 or 8 points there. There is an MMT 50-50 level right here. You can see this orange dashed line. We pulled right back to that line, just bounced right up off that line. These are 50% levels from the 1 hour time frame, these orange dashed lines. The gold lines are from the 4 hour time frame. And these pink levels, this is from the daily time frame. So look at the delta right now. It's total mixed bag. I would have liked to grab another short. We came up to this 50% wicks level. This is a slightly thicker orange dashed line. This is a 50% wicks level from the MMT 50-50. Had point of control up into this wick. We had a mixed bag of delta between the NQ and ES and the YM and RTY. Now as we're coming up, we've got negative delta across the board. I'm going to go for a short. I'm going to have to put my stop above this key level up here. Not the best risk to reward ratio. I'm going to move my take profit up a little bit. We got these double key levels down here. I want to make sure I'm above that. All right, so we got all this negative delta still coming across all 4 instruments. Just had a big top wick on this candle. And as price was moving up, we had negative delta across the board. We had a mixed bag on the candle before. Just looking for a little scalp. But I made sure to get out before this cluster of key levels right here. If we can keep pushing below, might make it back to VWAP here. The delta is kind of a mixed bag so far on this candle. I like taking first touch bounces off of key levels, especially if delta's in my favor. But if it's making a second or third attempt, I'm usually a lot more cautious. So my original plan when we broke out of VWAP here was if we busted through VWAP with some ferocity, looking for a pullback back to VWAP to take a bounce long. But as we're coming down, the delta is pretty dang strong. So I don't think I'm going to take the bounce long. I don't really like a short yet either. Just had this big move up on the open, and we're just getting the pullback back to VWAP. If we could get a close below VWAP, and ideally have the quadruple Heikin Ashi candles turning red, I might be interested in a short. But now we got the delta positive on 3 of the instruments and a big bottom wick wicking right off of VWAP. That's pretty bullish. See if we could break above this cluster of key levels right here, probably head it back up to this next little cluster of key levels here. Oh, look at all this positive delta coming in across the board. Popping back up here, getting a little hold up at the 50-50 levels. All right, look at that positive delta. Gonna go in for another long. 360 on the NQ, pretty strong on the ES. Don't like this hesitation. I'm gonna move my stop up a little bit, right below this cluster of 50-50 levels. If it doesn't move pretty quick, got my finger on the button. Got some more positive delta coming in. I'm giving it a shot. Got point of control down into the wick. All right, that's looking pretty good. That closed with point of control down into the bottom wick. And then we got a bunch more positive delta coming in across the board. Getting a nice move up now. Very strong. Breaking above whole number. I almost want to go long here. I feel like I missed out on my opportunity to press the button, so I'm not going to chase it. All right, well, we're getting the push up. The strong delta continues across all the instruments. The quadruple Heikin Ashi has been bullish this whole time. We just got rejected off of this double cluster, MMT 50-50 4-hour levels. This is the default settings for the MMT 50-50. This is what you get right out of the box. The 50-50 levels are pretty dang amazing. Just rejected off that cluster, back to the daily 50% level. Bounced up off of that level 10 points. We do have some stronger negative delta coming in, but it's not overpowering the amount of positive delta that just came in, so just gonna be patient here. So in order for me to want to get long, I definitely want to pop above this cluster of key levels and have some more strong positive delta. If we stay below this cluster and we get more negative delta, I might look to take some kind of short. especially if we can get some strong negative delta coming in. And ideally, the quadruple Heikin Ashi would turn bearish as well. I'll show you the settings for this chart a little bit later in the video. For the 60-minute chart, I've shown the settings for this in a video that I did yesterday. We are coming up to yesterday's open, and then we've got value area high up here, pretty much right where this 50% wicks level is. All right, so the delta has been pretty mixed past few candles here. Got some consolidation going on here. After this huge move up so far, I'm kind of more interested in some kind of potential short, especially up maybe around value area high at 960. So we got some decent delta coming in, but we just already had this huge move and we're coming right up to a potential area of resistance. So I'm not trying to buy right into that. I'm really looking for a reason to get short unless we have a strong close above this last key level here at 960. And then we have smooth sailing up to the next 4-hour 50% line. All right, we're getting a nice drop off, some decent negative delta. Don't really have that much room until a whole number. Just don't feel comfortable taking a short right there. Get a little bit more of a pullback. See, we're bearish on the quadruple Heikin Ashi right now. This is happening live in real time, interbar. All right, we got some negative delta. We've got the bearish quadruple Heikin Ashi. Put my stop down right above this last key level. Just gonna watch the delta, make sure the quadruple Heikin Ashi stays bearish here. I've got my take profit above this key level here. All right, so that candle closed bearish on the Heikin Ashi right there. I don't like this mixed bag of delta coming in. I almost hit the close button when I was up 7 points a little bit ago. I think I'm just gonna close it out there, 6 points. I like my scalps to be in and out, but that one would have worked out just fine. We had some more strong negative delta coming in. So those are some of the ways that I'm trading the Flow Stack. This is a legendary indicator that I created to trade with, where you can monitor delta across multiple instruments. And not only that, but there are many different conditions like the Heikin Ashi, volume, body size, delta. You can look for all kinds of things to be in congruence across multiple instruments. It prints bar colors, signals, delta numbers. There's an optional grid that will appear in the upper right corner. Definitely one of the most amazing indicators ever created, in my humble opinion. So let's take a look at the settings on this 1 minute NQ chart. I've got the featured attraction right here, the MMT Flow Stack. Everything is default settings, except I have turned off the delta grid. I'm not using the delta grid. I'm just using the delta above candles. I think this will cut down any processing needs just a little bit if you only have one or the other enabled, either the grid or the delta number above candles. I've had zero issues trading with all 4 instruments on the Flow Stack on the 1 minute chart. I only have 2 days of data loaded on this NQ chart. So I've got the bold font activated. The font size is 20. And if you haven't grabbed the most recent version of the Flow Stack, there's a new version of the Flow Stack in your WAP user area. It includes the offset above candles feature. I've got this set to a 10. This adds a little bit of buffer between the high of the candle and the lowest number. So when you're using these bigger font sizes, that offset can come in handy. And then I've got all of the additional instruments enabled. Instrument 2, I have the ES 1 minute. Instrument 3, I have the YM 1 minute. Instrument 4, the RTY 1 minute. So this is showing me the delta for the NQ, ES, YM, RTY. And then under the signal conditions, the only thing that I'm using is the Heikin Ashi. So when the Heikin Ashi is bullish across all 4 instruments that I have enabled, I'll get these green candles. I could also add in any of these other conditions. If I use the delta number threshold, then the delta for all 4 instruments would have to be positive in order to get that shift to a long condition. I can use the moving average trend. If I enabled the moving average trend, Every single instrument that I had enabled would have to be above or below the SMA or the EMA with the period that I would select. There's also the option to use a delta percentage threshold, directional filter, volume increase, body size increase. So any of these conditions I select will be applied to any instruments that I have selected. It's really an amazing way to monitor multiple different instruments and see when there is alignment across multiple different instruments. You could also use something similar with gold and silver and maybe even the Australian dollar, or another setup with oil and the Canadian dollar, or maybe some of the currency pairs, all kinds of different options. The Flow Stack will also paint signals. I can have it paint the bars, the outline, the background. I can choose the colors. The Flow Stack is just amazing. The other indicators that I have on the chart, I've got the free bar status timer from NINZA, links in the description to that as well. It's just a big timer in the upper right hand corner of my chart, counting down the seconds. I've got the MMT Ultimate POC on the chart. This is showing me the point of control for each candle. I've got it set so it does not print on top of the candle, so you only see the POC pop up when it is in the wicks. Otherwise, you don't see it. You can even create signals for when the POC is in the wicks. This can be a useful feature on Delta bars or King Renko bars. I've got the ultimate VWAP on the chart. I'm just using the current session VWAP. I'm not using any of the other amazing features on the ultimate VWAP. I've got the 20 SMA. And then I've got the MMT 50/50 indicator with default settings. This is plotting the 50% line for some of the biggest candles across multiple different time frames. I have 3 different time frames that you can plot 50% levels for. Then I also have one of the 50% wicks time frames activated. So it's looking back for the biggest wicks on the 1 hour chart and printing the 50% levels of those wicks. And this is another experimental indicator that I've been working on that auto plots Fibonacci levels. But as you saw in the practice trading today, I was just taking my trades based off of the MMT 50/50 levels, VWAP, point of control, and the Flow Stack. So those are the settings for this 1 minute chart and some ways that I would trade it. There are links to all of the MMT indicators in the description. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and anyone that's using code MonkeyMan, Apex, Lucid, Take Profit Trader, Tradeify, and TradeDay, thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. I wish you best of luck in your trading. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.